Welcome to the Jimmy Warren Show. It's time for another hour of incredible conversations with the biggest names in music. Now here's your host, Jimmy Warren.
Gotta make a break from Mexico. Life on the road is just wearing me down. Got to save us up some money, just you and me, honey. Gotta get on out of this town. We're going to Mexico. Let the tequila flow. We'll have nothing but fun, soaking up that hot sun down in Mexico. Lots of bright colored birds and colder Mondays are gonna be our very best friends. And if we see a big iguana, gonna tell him that we wanna party with him sometime down in Mexico. Let the tequila flow. We'll have nothing but fun, soaking up that hot sun down in Mexico.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Jimmy Warren Show. That's down to Mexico by my first guest tonight, Duke Robillard. That's right. Duke Robillard is going to be my first guest tonight. So if you're a fan of the blues, which I know you are, I know you have to be, well, then you're in for a great show. We got two outstanding guests tonight. As a matter of fact, two guests every night on Tuesdays this month. Tonight, Duke Robillard, and later on Rob Stone will be joining us as well. So you guys are in for a very good evening. Thank you so much for tuning into the Jimmy Warren Show right here on jimmywarrenshow.com. I tell you what, we've got not only a great show tonight, but in the coming months ahead, just a lot of great guests that are going to be a part. Just to give you an idea, some of the people coming on the show here coming up, Greg Howe, fantastic guitarist, is going to be here. Steve Lukather from Toto is going to be joining us. So there's a lot of great things that are going to be happening, so you want to stick to them. Now, I'm not going to babble a whole lot. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to babble at all. We're going to get right into it. This is a great conversation that I had with the amazing Duke Robillard. Here we are. Here's Duke.
Hello? Hello, Duke? Yeah, this is Duke.
How are you?
Very good. How are you?
Real good. Thank you very much. So glad you could take some time out of your enormously busy schedule.
It is pretty busy these days, I gotta say.
You're a hard-working guy.
No
you know
choice.
Hey, you know, what's it? You've put out about 50, I think you've been on about 50 releases, 55, something like that?
I have no idea how many releases I've done as a sideman, but I'm approaching 30 as a leader. I've been on quite a few as a sideman also, so it is at least 50, I would say.
Oh, yeah. You've been a staple, you know, for a very long time, since the 60s. If you don't mind, I know you got a new CD that's getting ready to come out on the 23rd called Calling All Blues off of Stoney Plain.
Correct.
Yeah, and I have it, and I've listened to it, and it is, well, it's like all your other CDs. It's fantastic. You know, there's nothing shabby about it at all, that's for sure. But before we get into that, if you don't mind, I'd like to talk a little bit about, I don't know, the early days of Duke, and if you don't mind, into the new CD. In that, since I see so much of you, well, of course, you know, being a guitar player, and you work for Guild and stuff like that, has the guitar always been, you know, even at an early age, was it something that you were drawn to or fascinated by, or how did you come into that?
Well, I think probably because both of my brothers had guitars, and they were 10 and 12 years older than me. My uncle played guitar and bass, and I think that was about the only instrument that was kind of around. And of course, I started playing right at the time of the beginning of rock and roll. So, of course, guitar was, you know, probably the most prominent instrument at that time. Well, one of them anyway. So, I think that's what it is, because as far as instruments go, I'm influenced more by horn players and keyboard players and vocalists, at least as much as I am by guitarists. So I think it was a matter of the instrument was close by, and that's probably why I picked it up, although I always loved it and still do.
Yeah. So did you take lessons? Did you learn by ear? I
taught myself to play by watching my brother form chords, and then I wasn't allowed to play his guitar, so I'd have to sneak in his room when he was out on a date or at football practice or something, and teach myself to play, basically just starting off with the basic chords that I learned from watching him.
Yeah. So I'm gonna guess that when you started, you know, because you talked about it was about the era of you know, rock and roll just coming about. Was that the style that you were influenced by or participating in, or even at that age had you already begun to be influenced by the blues?
Well, I had been influenced by the blues only because I heard it in various forms, not knowing what it is. And to me, see, I have to preface that by saying, to me, I hear the blues in country music, early country music, of course. I hear the blues in rock and roll. I hear the blues in jazz. You know, the basic form of the blues has been at the root of all American music until, I'd say, probably starting with the 1980s, that started changing. But the influence of the blues in all kinds of music was very prominent and obvious to me from a young age. So I started off, you know, listening to and playing Chuck Berry and Duane Eddy and Buddy Holly and Fats Domino and Little Richard songs and things like that, and the Ventures and Link Ray and all rock and roll, basically, you know, but the flip sides of early Chuck Berry records were often slow blues. I didn't know it was called blues. I didn't know what it was, but it made a big impression on me. And even as a little kid, hearing the slow blues, like in the wee wee hours or Deep Feeling by Chuck Berry, it just drew me in, and I had no idea why. It was just an emotional experience for me.
Yeah, well, you can tell that it has been because of, well, once again, going back to your long career, in that style of music and that, and your influence in that. Now, your first band was the Roomful of Blues, right?
Well, it was my first band, professional band, after high school. Yes, right. I had little, rock and roll bands in high school, but as soon as while I was in high school, I became very attracted to the blues and very immersed in it. So as soon as I got out of school, I started Roomful of Blues.
Yeah, and you started that. You were in that from '67 to was it around 1990, 89, 90, something like that?
No, actually 79. 79 is when I left. That was a 12-year period that I spent there, and then I started, when I left Roomful, I started a trio, and I started putting my guitar more in the forefront of the music, and then, I went to various numbers of instruments within my bands after that, from trios to quartets to five-piece band, and but yes, it was 12 years that I was fronting Roomful of Blues.
Yeah, and then the big move after them, and you went into your own thing, was you joined the Fabulous Thunderbirds.
Yes, I spent about I guess probably about 10 years or so doing my own thing, and then I joined the Thunderbirds, which I stayed with them about 2.5 years.
Yeah, how was the change? What was that like, going from doing your own thing to being a part of them? Because they were a little bit more, even though they were very blues influenced. I just talked to Kim Wilson a couple of weeks ago, and the guy is so passionate about blues that, but they were kind of they had some on the edge rock kind of,
Well, they started out as a blues band, and as they progressed, they took in other influences, like certain Louisiana music that kind of had a rock and roll beat, and then they started writing tunes that became, eventually became, I guess pop hits, at least one, and then the other was a soul tune, Sam and Dave tune. But I followed them, and also I was doing similar stuff with my trio and my own recordings, which was fusing blues with, just songwriting and rock and roll and other influences coming in there. So, and we were all friends, all the guys in the Thunderbirds. So at that time, the rhythm section were at different times part of my band, part of Roomful of Blues. So it was just a very natural thing, because Jimmy and I were friends and fans of each other, and we were all in the same space, except they, were lucky enough to go on into a bigger market. So it was actually quite easy and quite natural for me to fit with them.
Yeah. Well, your career has been, once again, it's been really fascinating. I think some of the things that I find really interesting about it is the time that you spent with Tom Waits and Bob Dylan.
That's right. Yeah. I've worked with both of them, and I've got to record with Dylan on his Time Out of Mind album.
Yeah. And so what was that experience like? I just interviewed Charlie Daniels, who did an entire CD around, of all Bob Dylan tunes, and he was hugely influenced by Bob. Were you influenced by Bob at all, or?
Well, I listened to him a lot. I wouldn't say that I was influenced by him that much. Maybe it was a certain point that I was, and I think that a little bit, and that was after I recorded with him. I recorded a couple of his tunes, and as the influence started sticking after being around him a bit and playing with him, recording with him. But But, you know, as far as like in my initial influences when I was, you know, playing in the earlier days, no, he wasn't an influence on me, but I followed what he was doing and listened to him. But, you know, he had a lot of the old blues influences in him, which, you know, which I also did, and that is, you know, where the similarity comes and how I ended up playing with him in the first place, you know.
Yeah. Well, you know, here you are, let's see, you started in around 67, and it's 2014, and you look back and you go, wow, I've been on, you know, around 55 albums. You've won 2 Handy Awards. You've been nominated for 2 Grammys. You played with
4 Handy Awards.
Waits. What's that? 4 Handy Awards.
Actually, 4 for the guitar and 1 as the producer, but I guess that's keeping the blues alive. No, actually 5 Handy Awards, 1 being for Traditional Male Artist of the Year, and then a Production Award, too, and then, like you said, 2 Grammy nominations, yes.
So how does that make you feel when you look back on your career? Do you when you look back on it, do you go, you know what, I really have done what I've set out to do, or do you not think about it at all and just keep making music? I mean, how does that...
Well, I mean, going forward is the main point. But when I do look back at it, and I can't help but be reminded because I have a case full of trophies, you know. But when I do think about it, I have to say that I have accomplished much more than I ever thought I would when I was young. I really never thought of music in terms of winning awards and, you know, things like that. I just followed my passion. So, of course, the awards mean something, and of course, you know, it makes you feel that the work you've done has served a purpose and it was worthwhile doing. You know, but I constantly look forward into what I'm going to do next, and, you know, different types of music that are all, everything I do, I believe, is totally stems from the blues, but I like to venture off into old jazz, swing era jazz, and different kinds of things. I did a tribute to Les Paul album that was not only that, but also kind of lounge exotica pop music that ranged from the 20s through the 50s or 60s. And so I'm interested in a lot of different things, but they're all things that have some influence of the blues in them, you know. And of course, the blues is my main focus.
1, 2, 3, 4. If she don't stop cheating in line, I'm gonna quit my baby. If she don't stop cheating in line, you know I'd rather be dead. I'd rather be dead than be worried all the time. I got a one-way ticket and my suitcase in my hand. Got me a one-way ticket and my suitcase in my hand. I'm gonna leave this morning, because I took all I can stand. You will be sorry for your dogging when you're alone, some cold and frosty morn. That's right, mama. A goodbye, farewell, I ain't got no more to say. Goodbye, farewell, I ain't got no more to say. You realize your mistake, mama, some cold, damn, rainy day. Yes, you will. Oh, goodbye, mama. Gonna catch that southbound train and ride. I'm leaving you, honey, before midnight. Bye-bye, baby.
So how has, to a guy like you, you know, who's been around so long, how has the face of music changed? You know, or how does a guy like you perceive the way music is today, or the face of music is today, or is it something you don't, once again, you don't think about, you just keep pushing on?
Well, if you said you don't think about it, you couldn't say that honestly, because even if you don't want to think about it, you're forced to think about it because media is everywhere.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't really believe music has changed for the better, because my passions are from music that is older and that has been influenced by the blues. But there's plenty of great music out there being made. It may not be the music that I'm interested in, but I'm glad that there's more acoustic music, and that's popular. Things that stem from bluegrass and, you know, different types of music and folk music, and, you know, all of that is great. I mean, that's all part of the big picture and all part of American music, you know.
Now, what about the performing aspect as a musician, as a touring musician? You know, because that's how you guys make your money, is by going out and playing. How has the face of the industry for a guy like you out playing changed? You know, let's say just over the last, 20 years. I mean, because, I know guys that say, well, some people aren't making as much as they were back then, and, it's just as hard as it was back then, or it's harder now than it was back then. And
it is harder. Yeah. It is harder because there's less places to play. Yeah. Less people go out to hear live music. The blues audience is generally an older audience. There are some kids coming up to replace the ones that stopped going out, but not nearly enough of them. There are blues festivals. That continues to be a very popular thing, and that's great. But, you can't live on playing a half a dozen blues festivals through the year, Yeah. And club dates, I feel that club dates are more important, because I feel doing an intimate performance to a smaller number of people in a club is more important and more real than music has become. Even blues music, a lot of people, the way they present it, it's become more a presentation than a personal performance experience. And that partially is because of the way the music, now, people want to go out to these giant venues to see people perform. Now, I don't want to watch somebody from a screen. I want to be near somebody and see what they're doing and feel what they're doing. But, music has become big business. It started in the 70s, and it got bigger and bigger, and, stadium concerts were the norm, and all of that kind of stuff. It's like it's not a valid performance if you're not playing in front of thousands and thousands of people in the stadium. I don't really subscribe to that. I'm not even remotely interested in that. I enjoy playing to big crowds, but I feel I communicate best, and I'm best understood playing to a smaller audience in a club. That's the real personal value of the experience of music, live music.
Yeah, and it seems to be one, and I've had this conversation with many people, it seems to be one of the things that is really dominant in the blues field, in blues music, because you get that when you're in that intimate setting, the communication between the artist and the band and the audience. I mean, there's no wall there, so there's that open inner, that connection there where they can actually have access to you, you have access to them. People talk, people might have a drink together, whatever it is, and there's no.
You might even joke with the audience from the stage,
Right.
The thing is that in a big performance, you pretty much have to plan out what you're going to do and present it as a show, the way a rock show is. You have to have it planned out. There's not as much room for changing your program or, I still do. I run a concert performance in a big venue very similar to the way I do in a small club. Very similar, but of course I have to make some changes because you are presenting something in a bigger format, which it's just the way of the world now. Before the 70s, it was never like that because it just wasn't. I mean, you might get a few thousand people in an auditorium now and then for a show, and very often for a show of several acts, but it's just different now. It's less personal. It's more, and of course, with the digital age, that's all different. I'm a big promoter of analog sound and records versus CDs, and I have to say, I think I'm right because CDs are going away. Less and less people are buying them. And music is becoming this thing that should be for free, people think. And a lot of that is because of you don't have something you cherish, like a record that has art, has liner notes that you can actually read, and is something that's taken care of. And I could go on forever. I don't want to bore you with my my view of it, but.
Well, and that brings us to your new CD, or your new release, let's just call it that. It's called Calling All Blues. It's on Stoney Plain. And as a matter of fact, just what you were talking about here, you're releasing it also on vinyl.
Yes, on high-grade 180-gram vinyl, so it sounds fantastic. I've approved the test pressing. It's a little behind because so many people now are pressing vinyl that all the plants in the country are all backed up. So it's probably going to be a month later that you'll actually be able to buy it. But I'm hopeful that it makes an impression. It sounds fabulous on vinyl. It sounds warm and rich, and that's the way music should sound to me. But there's digital elements of recording that are great. I use modern technology and older technology. I blend them to make what I feel is, the best sounding product. To me, integrity and quality are the important factors. I really don't care about MP3s, and I know almost everybody listens to music now through MP3s on an iPod, but, I do too. I use it. It's convenient, but when I really want to listen to music, I listen to vinyl.
Yeah. Well, the new CD, once again, is called Calling All Blues, and one thing that I read, and I think it's on your liner notes, you made the statement, we hope you enjoy our journey through these styles as we hit many of the sounds of the cities and states where these blues and soul styles developed. So that kind of lays a foundation for what people are going to be able to expect from the CD. And what is that exactly?
Well, there's a lot of different sounds and styles. First of all, the album is mostly based on my songs, my songwriting, and like, say, the opening tune, Down in Mexico. It's not a soul song per se, but the music is entirely coming from a Memphis place, Memphis soul music. The song is not intended as being written as sounding like a soul song, but having a musical feel and groove of a soul song. And we created tunes that come from a lot of different styles, from one chord, Mississippi kind of blues or Texas kind of blues to, there's a swing style blues is kind of reminiscent of Mose Allison. There's all different kinds, even influences of jazz and rock and roll and different things within the songs, but they all have musical. You can trace the styles of the songs as far as the musical grooves to a lot of older music that have been part of my career. I tried to make this album, although I always have a lot of different styles, I tried to make this album kind of related to back in the late 60s or early 70s when music was less categorized, and you would have bands recording albums that they had original rock and roll songs, then they might have a deep blues song, and like the days of Jimi Hendrix, or even an early Steve Miller, where he might record some blues tunes and then to some of his own compositions, and the psychedelic era there, where Albert King would open for Jefferson Airplane.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of different textures to this release for sure. And I know some of my favorites was I really like the song "She's So Fine."
Oh yeah, that's a great tune. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a Carter Brothers tune. That's a Alabama soul band who I've always loved. It's a soul and blues band from the '60s. And that's a tune I always wanted to cover. That's the only cover tune on the album.
Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I also enjoyed 44.
44.
44. Wasn't that the name of it? I'm sorry. I think I got the name. Nasty. No, Motor Trouble. I'm sorry.
Oh, Motor Trouble. Yeah, that's the one that's kind of like a Texas-style blues.
Yeah, it had that Texas feel to it. The new CD is great. What's your plans? For the rest of the year after this thing releases?
Well, just touring as much as possible, and continuing to do what I do. Write songs, play, record, and gig. That's
One of the things that cause we're connected on Facebook. You probably don't know that though. We're connected on Facebook, and one of the things that I see you post all the time is about guitar lessons. And I went to your website, of course, several times, and I saw this connection to this website called Sonic Junction, where you give lessons. Now, is this site yours, or is this a site you're a part of?
No, I'm just part of it. They have other artists. Corey Harris teaches acoustic blues. Jerry Portnoy teaches harmonica. And they may have a few other people. And of course, I teach blues and swing-style guitar, and sometimes some roots rock and roll, and just all the different styles that I play.
Yeah. And how long have you been doing this? The lessons online?
It's been a couple years now.
Yeah.
It's been going very well. That's next on my schedule today is to go film another lesson.
Well, you know what? I think it's a great thing, I think it's really cool when a very talented artist like yourself, creates these kinds of lessons and that, so people get a good inside look at how you approach things, or things that you find are important about the instrument or a style of playing or whatever, that other people that are inspired, and trying to learn and trying to grow, they can just go right to that site and not have to try to figure it out by listening to the record, but they can hear it straight from you.
Well, yeah, I want to keep all these types of music that I play, I want to keep it alive. And one of the best ways to do that is to share my knowledge. And so I think it's very important for me to continue with this,
All right, you've been listening to my conversation with Duke Robillard. Been talking about his new release, Calling All Blues, which is on Stoney Plain Records. Also, we've been talking about his career and everything that's going on. You need to go to his website, dukerobillard.com. We're going to do another track. This is Motor Trouble off of his newest release. And when we come back, I will be joined by Chicago bluesman Rob Stone.
Okay, everybody ready? Let's do it.
Just reading empty people, but I've got a long way to go. Seems my carburetor must be clogged up. Lord, my engine is running slow. I'm having motor trouble. Motor trouble. I'm having motor trouble, people. Motor trouble. My machine used to be so powerful, built for comfort and for speed. So many years of hard road travel has put a strain on these old gears. I'm having motor trouble, people. Motor trouble. I'm having motor trouble, people. Motor trouble. Destination so far away. I pray the Lord please help me make it, and nevermore out past this way. I'm having motor trouble. Motor trouble. I'm having motor trouble, people. Motor trouble.
Hello, Rob?
Yes.
Hey, Jimmy Warren here.
Hey, man, how are you?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, no, thanks for being on. We appreciate it. And we're just going to jump right in, okay?
Okay. Is this is all I can call you from, because I only have a cell phone, but I'm in a quiet space.
Okay, that's fine. It sounds pretty clear, so I think we're in good.
Okay. All right. Right on.
All right, so let's just jump right in here, Rob. You're from Chicago?
I grew up in Boston, but I moved to Chicago in the early '90s and lived there for 20 years.
20 years, right? And it looked like a while back you connected with Earwig Music. You released a project with them called Back Around Here.
I did, and before that, I had a CD with Earwig called Just My Luck, and before that, I had a CD that we released called No Worries that Earwig then picked up and distributed.
Okay, so you've had about 4 projects with Earwig then, prior to the new release, which is called Gotta Keep Rolling, which is through the Vistone label group.
Yeah, and we're pretty excited about Vistone.
Yeah. How's the relationship been with? I know a lot of the people over there. Bob Magnolan and
they've been great. And I recorded this project maybe about a year ago and sent it over to Rosie and Bob, and they were really supportive and excited about it, and it got me excited, and so it felt right, and we moved forward, and I feel great about it.
Yeah. So the name of the new CD is called Gotta Keep Rolling. And one thing that I really like about the CD, and that I like about you, Rob, is that the sound, even though it's your sound, and it's you, there's something familiar about it that just kind of takes you back. You know what I mean? It kind of reminds me of the old blues sound, like maybe back in the mid to late 50s. It's got that real reminiscent.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I love, and that's what we all love. And Chris James and Patrick Rinn and I, we write all our original stuff together, and that's the music we love, and that's the kind of stuff we all like to play. As a harmonica player, it's really what I love to play. And at the same time, I'm not particularly interested in recreating old music. I don't want to, go out and play stuff note for note. I feel like I'll do that at home as I'm getting better at playing and learning, and I think you have to do that, and there's a place for that. But for me, it's not on my records, and it's not on the stage. I like to try to bring something new to it. I'm not a Chicago African American guy who moved up from the South and started playing electric blues in the 50s. So I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and all that stuff filtered into my musical, psyche, I guess. And it would be crazy to try to escape myself. So, I bring to the music whatever I naturally bring to the music, and included in that is a real love for the 50s Chicago sound.
Yeah. Well, that all within itself is pretty amazing, because you really stop and think about it. There's not too many people that I can even think of that have been inspired by that so much that I know you don't play nothing note for note, but it's like your sound is just reminiscent of that era that's influenced you. And there's not too many guys out there doing that.
No, and, as a harp player, I quickly found that in Chicago, I moved to Chicago to play with Sam Lay, and he really plays the same kind of stuff, and, he's the real deal. Sam played it with, everybody you can think of, and was part of the whole thing, and it was my, great luck to get connected with him and tour with him for a while, and then when I decided it was time to leave his band, there weren't all that many options, of people who were playing that kind of music, and really of people who wanted harp players. So my option was to start fronting a band, you know, and figure out how to sing and start to get a bunch of songs together and try to do something, you know, out of my own. And a lot of it came out of the necessity of doing it that way because of what you're talking about, because there just weren't that many options. Not a lot of people are playing this stuff.
Right. And like you said a minute ago, there's not too many, you know, I hate to throw a race thing into it, but there's not too many white guys, like you said, that are doing that exactly. I mean, there's really not too many guys that are coming up that are staying true to that sound as it is, because everything is more, you know, it's more edgy, more rocky, you know, it seems like.
Right, I agree, and you know, that's fine for folks, but it's not what I want to play. And you know, I don't judge music. Music's music, and if it makes people happy, that's great. You know, whatever they're doing. But you know, for me, the stuff that feels most at home for me when I'm playing and singing is you know, related to that 50s thing. And so, you know, we try to write songs and we try to perform music that it really captures the spirit of that without duplicating it.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: how did you get on the harmonica? I mean, how did you land there? How did you end up with the harmonica as your instrument of choice?
I had played piano. I had played, you know, for years. When I was in second grade, I tried violin or something like that. I had always been musical. I'd always sang. I'd always done, you know, school music stuff, but nothing really clicked for me. I saw Charlie Musselwhite play when I was about 18, and it just kind of blew me away. I had listened to blues music. I had a lot of blues music because my family and friends of my family listened to it, and so I was exposed to it, but I hadn't really listened to it. You know, I just I knew what blues was. I had maybe a Muddy Waters record, but I had never really paid attention to, you know, Little Walter's harmonica playing, for instance, on a Muddy record. I just kind of knew what blues was. But when I saw Charlie play, it was the first time I had seen a harmonica front and center. It was the first time I saw someone live, you know, playing harmonica and soloing and playing the way he does. And it just got me excited, and I thought, man, the harmonica can't be that hard, could it? You know, I didn't know. And everybody sort of holds a harmonica at some point. You know, at some point everybody's played a harmonica. You know, I have people all the time who tell me that their newborn babies are really great harmonica players. You know, and they send me videos of their baby like blowing into a harmonica. And because you can get a note on the thing, it's unintimidating. You know, and I guess in the same way that people sort of peck at a piano, because you can kind of figure things out sometimes. So I went out and bought one, and I was able to get some sound out of it pretty quickly and start finding, I'd always played piano by ear. I had taken some lessons, but mostly played by ear. And on harmonica, I found that I could put my ear to good use in terms of picking up melodies and start trying to match some things from the records. And, you know, I went out and bought a Charlie Musselwhite CD. And then quickly I started finding who his influences were and getting into that. And once I kind of heard, you know, Sonny Boy 2 really first, and then Big Walter, and then Little Walter, you know, I was hooked and just started trying to get my instrument to sound like theirs, you know.
Yeah. Well, there's not a whole lot of great, you know, harmonica players out there on the scene today. You know, there's very, very limited. So I think it's pretty cool that you've gone down that path. And the new CD, you know, like I said, it's titled "Gotta Keep Rolling." It's really good, and you've had some impressive guests: Eddie Shaw, John Primer, Willie Hayes.
Yeah, thrilled that Henry Gray. Thrilled that all those guys would do it. Willie, I work with regularly in Chicago. Eddie I've known for some time, and same with John, and you know, asked John and Eddie if they'd be willing to do it. Henry Gray I did a tour with, but you know, a year or two ago, and you know, these guys are great, and they just add their flavor to the whole thing, and also I feel like with the older guys, because we're playing music in the spirit of that older music, it feels right to to be connected to them and for them to be part of it, and it makes it more meaningful to me. As the CD's kind of capturing a little place in time, and then you move on from it. And I already, I listen to anything I record, and 10 minutes later, I don't want to hear it anymore, And
right.
but at the same time, there's, we're capturing something, and to have these guys be a part of that is something cool, and it makes it, meaningful musically and beyond the music too.
Yeah. Now, was the project, was it recorded live? Did you guys do it all together, or was it all tracked?
We did it all together. It's all live. I went back and did some overdubs for vocal, and a couple of harmonica things here and there, but everything else was recorded live.
Yeah. And what can you tell, people that are, maybe not familiar with Rob Stone? I mean, what is it about you and about your career and about this new CD that, you'd really want people to know?
That's a good question. I guess what I always hope is that we can get people excited about this kind of music. Whether it's my stuff or stuff we're covering, I feel like this music has a lot of life in it, and it's not old, dusty music. And I feel like if someone hears our stuff, likes it, that's great. If it turns them on to some of the older stuff, that's great too. It's an important part of this country. It's an important part of music. And I always hope that we can turn on a younger crowd or a new crowd to blues and to blues music, old and new. And I think it's important that blues stick around for a while here. I don't feel like it's dead or dying, but it is a challenge to get people excited about it.
Well, it doesn't take much to get excited about Rob Stone's new CD. Here is the first track off of it. This is called Wait Baby by Rob Stone.
Wait, baby. Wait, baby. Wait, baby. I want you to wait, little baby. Please wait for me. She got long black hair, cute little feet. She's the cutest little thing that I've ever seen. Look at here, boys, see just what I see. There's a cute little girl waiting just for me. Now she's standing on the corner just as sweet as she can be. Now she's standing on the corner just as sweet as she can be. She's a cute little gal waiting just for me. Long black hair, cute little feet. She's the cutest little thing that I've ever seen. Look at here, boy, see just what I see. She's standing on the corner, waiting just for me. Wait, baby. Wait, baby. Wait, baby. Wait, baby. I want you to wait, little baby. Please wait for me.
That's Rob Stone. I want to thank my guests tonight, Duke Robillard and Rob Stone, for making this night of blues so awesome, so incredible. Big shout out to both of them. Make sure you go to their websites, dukerobillard.com, robstone.com. Find out more information about each one of them, where they're playing at, their newest releases, and so forth. Support the blues and live music everywhere. And next Tuesday night, right here on the Jimmy Warren Show, we have the Raskins, who are currently on tour with Motley Crue and Alice Cooper, and Stolen Roads. Now, Stolen Roads is a new band. They are extremely good. You're really going to love this. So if you're a fan of like the Allman Brothers and that, then you're really going to love Stolen Roads. Great band. Also coming the last Tuesday, November 25th of this month, I have Megan Krause, who's the lead singer for the band Marigold, which was founded and started by Greg Howe. And also on that same night, Chris Duarte is joining me again here on the Jimmy Warren Show, talking about his newest release on Shrapnel Records called Lucky 13. So it's going to be a great month. And all month, we're going to have two guests on each show, so you're really going to love this. I want to thank you so much for tuning in to the Jimmy Warren Show right here at jimmywarrenshow.com. Look forward to seeing you next week. Remember, go to our archives, check out what's coming up and what's been happening on the show in the past. And you can come to the jimmywarrenshow.com at any time and listen to any of the archive shows right here. You can also join us at YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter and on Facebook as well. That's Jimmy Warren Show. We want to thank you once again for tuning in. We're going to get out of here. Here's another one by Rob Stone. Thank you so much, and I will see you next week.
Started out on the road, not much money, but we were sold. Blues keep rolling on, blues keep rolling on. The road is rough and tough, can't get enough. Blues keep rolling on. Driving round for GPS, middle of nowhere, always a mess. Blues keep rolling on, the blues keep rolling on. The road is rough and tough, can't get enough. Blues keep rolling on. Where we stayed, one bit for man. Room so funky, slept in the van. Blues keep rolling on, blues keep rolling on. The road is rough and tough, can't get enough. The blues keep rolling on. Dreaming about home-cooked meal, chevron sandwich behind the wheel. Blues keep rolling on, blues keep rolling on. The road is rough and tough, can't get enough. Blues keep rolling on. Play the blues for a lousy cent, ain't enough to pay the rent. Blues keep rolling on, blues keep rolling on. The road is rough and tough, can't get enough. Blues keep rolling on. Play the blues for lousy cent, ain't enough to pay my rent. Blues keep rolling on, blues keep rolling on. The road is rough and tough, can't get enough. Blues keep rolling on, blues keep rolling on, blues keep rolling on, blues keep rolling on, blues keep rolling on. The road is rough and tough, can't get enough. Blues keep rolling on, blues keep rolling on.
Tune in every Tuesday night to The Jimmy Warren Show as Jimmy talks with some of the biggest names in music, from George Thorogood and Toto to Judas Priest and Charlie Daniels. That's The Jimmy Warren Show, Tuesday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern Time and 8 p.m. Pacific Time at www.jimmywarrenshow.com.